Hey guys, it's Greg Alexander, and today I wanted to talk about something that's not often thought about, and it's the life cycle of a fishing lure. And what I mean by the life cycle of a fishing lure, well, a fishing lure goes through a lot of cycles. You know, when a lure is first introduced to the market, then a lot of people buy it or are interested in it, go out and try. Some have success, some don't have success. Some lures work, some lures don't. I mean, all lures will catch fish one day or another, but some lures are way more successful than others. And a lot of that's got to do, with the design, the action, the realism, and the ability to trigger a fish to bite. But lures go through cycles. I've been bass fishing since I was, 10, 11 years old, and I'm 61. And, we started with hula poppers and jitterbugs and river runts and mep spinners and red and white daredevil spoons and all those things. And you know what? I don't throw any of them anymore. Partially because of improvements in design, partially because of the changing moods of a fish. So let me explain kind of what happens here. If you take Pavlovs Dogs, I don't know if any of you ever studied this, if you ever took a psychology class in high school or college, one of the things they would talk about would be Pavlovs Dogs. And what Pavlovs Dogs were a group of dogs that were put into different situations and rewarded or punished based on their behavior. And the ones that were rewarded for the behavior continued the behavior, and the ones who were punished for the behavior stopped it. But not everyone stopped at the same time. Some dogs were dumber than others. Some dogs were smarter than others. Some dogs became skittish real quick, and I'm not doing that again. And others didn't seem to get it for quite some time. And this is what happens with bass fishing. You develop a lure, it goes into the market, it becomes a successful lure. And there's a period of time where, you're like in front of the curve as far as you figured this out. You figured out, man, I've got something good here. And you're throwing it before everybody starts to throw the lure. And then as time goes on, word gets out and more people start to throw this lure, whatever it may be, and it becomes less effective. And it seems like you start catching more little fish on it and less bigger fish on it as each year goes by. Let's take the Senko as an example. When the Senko first came out, man, everybody that got onto it like early around here was winning everything. Literally winning everything. Well, the Senko's not changed, right? The Senko's not changed in 20 years. It's the same thing. They've added some colors, and it still catches fish. And you can still catch a big fish on occasion or in the right situation. And it's an excellent lure. But it is not what it was in the beginning. Because the Pavlov dog effect on these fish, of course, the little ones haven't experienced the extreme misfortune of being caught and snatched out of the water, unhooked and thrown back, and they're like, what the heck just happened? And it might take them a little while to catch on to that, but they're going to catch on. So let's take some other lures here. I watched a Randy Blockett video the other day, and he talked about, the best jerkbait of all time. And he was talking about, the Megabass jerkbait. And, I bought $250 worth of Megabass jerkbaits back in the day when they first came out to fish a national championship on Bull Shoals Lake and some other places. And they caught some fish, for sure. As the years have gone on, I catch more fish on other jerkbaits than I do on the Megabass. I mean, the Megabass is a $25 jerkbait. It has some of the highest quality components, realistic eyes, best hooks, best swivel snaps, everything. You're paying for a premium. But it's cycling out. as far as being the best jerkbait. Why? Because everybody's throwing it. So these bass have learned to, you know, through bad experiences being caught, they've learned that, you know, when it looks like that, and it moves like that, and it feels like that, and it sounds like that, I didn't have a good experience the last time I fished, or last time as the bass bit that lure thinking it was something to eat. So then they become very wary. You know, and then there's days where, you know, it's low light condition, it's windy and rainy, barometric pressure's dropping, where these fish get a little bit more aggressive, and they may still bite it where they wouldn't bite it unless conditions were just so. So the fix for this is you have to always stay current, but you just can't stay current on any old thing. You know, I cycled through lures years ago. Like, one of my go-to lures years ago was a 4-inch phenom tail red shad worm, right? I probably caught more fish with an 1/8 ounce bullet weight and a 2/0 true turn hook back in the day. Sharpened my hooks and everything. And, you know, I haven't thrown that worm in at least 10 years. And why haven't I thrown it in 10 years? Well, they started getting educated to it, but then on top of that, things changed. You know, years ago, we fish a lot of these rivers around here, and years ago, these rivers were much dirtier than they are now. You know, they had more green stain to them, they had more of a dark stain to them. Now, more days than not, these rivers are a lot clearer than they used to be, and that red shad color just doesn't perform as well. So we have a combination there of environmental changes and education of fish. So you clear the water up, give them a better look at something, it's going to be harder to catch those fish. So you got to kind of stay on the front end of this, you know. And you know, I've seen it with some creature baits that I've thrown. You know, when creature baits first came out, you know, it was like the beaver was like the first thing, and guys were winning tournaments with this sweet beaver, and I didn't even know about it. I didn't even know about it for a while, and then I kind of got onto it maybe a couple years after these guys got onto it, and I started whacking the fish on it, throwing sweet beaver, putting it on jig trail and everything else. And then it kind of started cycling away where, I mean, you could still catch fish on it, but it just wasn't producing like it used to. You know, and then I moved on from there to a DBomb. And I started finding that, you know, it looks a lot like the beaver, but it's got a different flavor, got a little bit different shape, a little bit different action, different smell to it, and a different texture. And so I kind of transformed from the beaver to the DBomb and started all over again, whacking them, winning tournaments on it. And now that's starting to cycle back out again. Can you still catch them on them? Oh, yeah, you can catch them on them. But everything's just got to be just so now to win tournaments on these lures because everybody's doing it, right? And it's hard as a fisherman sometimes to think outside of the box. It's hard to go against the grain when you can look at, you know, years of success sometimes on a lure and thinking it's just going to keep producing. But the fact is, no, it's not going to just keep producing at a winning level. You know, I used to throw, excuse me, I used to throw a bomber 6A Fire Tiger. And I had one in particular. You know, you got your heroes and your zeros. You can buy two the same, one catches fish, one doesn't. Why is that? Well, it just got a little bit something different about it. But I had a hero 6A that I probably caught, shoot, I caught hundreds of bass on before I finally lost it. And it had even lost its finish and everything. And it was still catching fish. But, you know, I started throwing another one after I lost that one, and it never caught fish again like that. And, you know, over the years, I've bought more and more of that same lure, trying to reinvent past success. And again, the conditions have changed, the water is cleared up, the fish have gotten really conditioned, that particular type of vibration or wiggle, and they kind of shy off of it and move off of it, and you still catch some of the smaller fish, and every once in a while you might catch a big one, but it just doesn't produce. So what I'm trying to tell you guys today is if you want to be a better fisherman, you got to stay ahead of the curve with these lures. And to do that, probably the best way to do that is not listen to what everybody else is doing. You know, well, man, I will catch them on this. And sure, you can do that for a little while and have a little bit of success for a little while. But if you're the one that went out and experimented with that lure, that design, that color, that weight, and you figured out, man, I've got something here, and you can kind of keep that on the down low for a while, you'll have an advantage over the competition. Or if you're just not in competition and you're just trying to catch more fish, you're going to catch more fish until, again, everybody gets on to it. We educate the fish again. It cycles back into catching big ones, not as many big ones, mostly little ones with a big one every once in a while, to not even hardly getting bid on it because everybody's doing it. So stay ahead of the curve. Think outside the box. Don't be afraid to try new things, and you will be a better fisherman, and you will catch more fish. So my resolution for 2023 for myself is, man, this year I'm going to reach a little bit farther into a new bag of tricks and be a little bit more experimental than I have been in the last couple of years. Sometimes you rest on your laurels, and then, you know, you've wasted a year doing the wrong thing all year. So just because something used to work don't mean it's going to work in the future. But then again, remember this. Don't forget about those things that you did years ago that you kind of abandoned. If the conditions come back around again and people kind of get away from it and then you pick it back up again, you can revive something from the past and kind of have it to yourself for a little while until people again get a whiff of it, basically. So remember Pavlovs Dogs. Again, if you like my channel and want to watch it on a regular basis, I'd ask you to please subscribe, hit the little like button if you would, and please share it with your friends. And if you would put a comment in the comment section down below, that will help me grow my channel and bring you more good content. Again, I thank you for watching. Have a blessed day.